All right. Welcome, everyone. Hi, I'm Shruti. I'm one of the co-hosts for the Agile Denver Coaches and Scrum Master Meetup alongside Laurie. Our topic for today, being a people-centric Scrum Master in a remote world. I think as Scrum Masters, we all believe this is a key trait that we try to improve and hone. In today's presentation, we're going to focus on two different key areas. Firstly, being self-aware, and secondly, awareness of others. Amy's going to share a few tips that we can take away and try and work out some of these exercises with our teams. A little about Amy. Amy Westmoreland is a co-founder of Agile Avengers, whose mission is to help unlock the power held within every team. With a truly agile mindset, teams will always find success in what they set out to do and achieve. And their belief is anyone has the ability to create these teams with the right set of tools, knowledge, and support. Personally, Amy is passionate about helping organizations evolve, supporting them to embed high-performing cultures through adoption of agile ways of working and mindsets. With a passion for human behavior in the workspace, she looks at the social and the psychological processes that operate within these organizations so that she can understand them and develop ways of improving them. Please join me in welcoming Amy. Amy, over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so before I go into my presentation, I did say that we're going to do a quick energizer. So those of you who have got your supplies ready, for those of you who missed it, you need two things if you want to be involved. If not, you will get quite a lot of fun just by watching other people do this. So you need a pen and a toilet paper. Okay, and what we're going to do right now is we're going to try and break a world record. And this is a real thing, okay? Yes. So who's ready? Let me see who wants to play the game right now. Okay. Have you got your toilet paper and your pen? It's really simple. All you've got to do in 60 seconds, I have to put my hands the right way. Hold your toilet paper, pass the pen through, take it out the other side. As many times as you can in 60 seconds. Okay. That's it. That's all you've got to do. And the world record is 63.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. So who I will time it. Who's going to go for it? Okay. I think you're, oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, lovely. You're going to have to count for yourselves, okay? I can't count for everyone at the same time. So please do keep count of your own numbers. Okay, you can change your strategy. You can opt to do it slightly different. I've seen people hold it like this and drop it through sideways. They used gravity for to try and help them. But however you want to do it, give it a try. And I will let you know when I'm about to start the timer. Right, get my stopwatch going for 1 minute. Right, are we ready? Steady, go.
Whoa, this is hard.
It starts quite calmly. There's a lot of focus. Looks like Christine's got a little good thing going. Right, 30 seconds in, halfway through. I think we might have some people breaking the world record here. It's pretty quick. Okay, 15 seconds. Get those last ones in. Don't start panicking now. Oh, there we go. Someone's got the pen.
Me.
What happens? 7 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Right. How many did we get?
Like 31, I think. Like halfway through the world record.
31. Christine, you look like you were on fire.
I was for a while. I got 44.
That's good. That is good. Nice. Okay. There is absolutely no relation to Agile or being people-centric in that energizer whatsoever. It's literally just a fun way to get people chatting. It works really well in massive groups. So I've run this with like 60 people on a Zoom before. It was chaos, absolute chaos, but it was really fun and obviously very quick. So it's a good one to have in your back pocket if you need to get some energy up quickly. So that's why we did that one. But let's go into share my screen. Right, okay, let me know when you can see my screen. I'm just going to present.
Yep.
Fabulous. So this was the slide for breaking the world record, but if I put it up, none of you would have seen what was going on, so we decided not to. So a little bit about me. I know you've had an overview, but a couple of things. So yeah, I'm a co-founder of Agile Avengers. I've got a massive passion for people and culture, disability, wellbeing, inclusion, advocate, disruptor, all of those things, and things that you don't know about me yet. So I do quite a lot of charity fundraising, and I do love a bit of a crazy challenge. This weekend, I am doing an ultra challenge, which is a 100-kilometer walk. I've given myself 24 hours to do it. And there's no sleeping. The only resting is to sit down and eat food at regular stops. And it's in a place called the Jurassic Coast, so very hilly. There's going to be across beaches and sand. It's going to be horrific. But I am doing it for charity, so worth the cause, definitely. And another thing that I just want to call out, firstly, I am looking at my presentation screen right now. I have two screens. If I'm not looking at the camera, I promise I'm not distracted and looking at other things. I have got a second screen that I'm looking at. And also I have two cats that quite often like to make an appearance in my calls. So I'm going to apologize in advance if one of the cats does walk across in front of me. She seems to know the wrong time to do it every time and likes to make an appearance. So we'll see if she does, but hopefully not, because she's just been fed. So, okay. So we said we're going to talk a little bit about being people-centric and understanding self and understanding others. So we're going to start off with understanding self. And for me, this is a massive part of how you are people-centric. You can't really help people and understand other people until you truly understand yourself. So we're going to do an activity in a minute, and it's something that I call life lessons. But effectively, each and every one of you listening today will have life experience that we can draw upon. And there'll be situations that you've gone through in your life which have shaped you to how you are today. If I look back at my career and where I am now, it's not conventional. It kind of goes through all different phases, and it's sometimes difficult to figure out how I've ended up here. But one of the big life lessons for me was something that happened back in 2014. I climbed Kilimanjaro, and then I went on to Kenya, to the Masai Mara, and I got to visit a school in the Masai Mara and a tribe. And the culture I experienced in that school stays with me today. The way the children were, how they spoke, everything they spoke about was incredible and massively inspiring. And I still feel it now. Like I can think back to how I felt in that moment, and that shaped a massive part of my passion for culture and creating these teams and, inspiring people to be the best they can be. So that was a big life lesson of mine that's kind of shaped who I am today. Something that I probably didn't think was going to be a life lesson at the time. So what we're going to do in a second is we're going to go out into some breakout groups of around 4 people, and we're just going to have around 5 minutes. And I want you to firstly think about your life lesson. So think about a time or a moment from your past that has shaped you. And then you're going to have a couple of minutes to do that. And then you're going to have a couple of minutes in your group to share. You don't have to share that moment if you don't want to. But I would encourage you to do so. It doesn't have to be anything massively personal. Just think about something that shaped you. It might be something that one person has said to you. It might be something that happened. It might be something you experienced. But just think about a moment that has shaped you and got you to where you are today. So take a couple of minutes, and whilst you're thinking about that, we're going to organise some breakout groups of around 3 to 4. And then we'll leave you in those groups for about 3 minutes. So you should get a little pop-up on your screen any moment now.
Laurie, are you setting it up?
Yep, I sure am.
Okay.
Are we ready to go?
Please, yeah.
Take off.
So I think I've got a timer here, so another minute or so, and then we'll bring them back, if that's okay. Jake and JD, I'm not sure if you were with us or not, but if you are, they've just gone into some breakout groups to think about a time. It's on the screen, you can see the question there. Think about a time or a moment from their life that has shaped you. So if you can think about one of those, or you want to share your experience as well, or something around that, please feel free to, because I think you've just missed the breakout groups.
Yeah, I did. I just missed it.
I think if we give them the 60 seconds now, Laurie, I think it gives 60 seconds when you close the groups, doesn't it, on Zoom? Fab, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully it's set that way. Okay, I'm going to bring folks back.
Perfect, thank you.
This meeting is being recorded.
We should have everybody back now.
Yep.
Perfect, thank you so much. So this was just a really, really quick activity. Now this can go on for quite some time. You can do this in your teams. You can ask people the same question. However, what I would encourage you to do is something called a timeline exercise. Now, you can do the timeline exercise in groups, but I would encourage you to do it on your own first. And that is where you get a piece of paper and you physically draw out the ups and downs of your life and things that happened, everything from as early as you can remember to now. I've done this in a group before and we had all day. There was around 10 of us and we literally had all day to do this. We had about 3 hours each, or 2.5 hours each, to go away and create our timeline, and we drew it out on big bits of flip chart, and then we all played it back to each other in the afternoon, and we had around 15 minutes per person to talk it back, and it was a very draining day emotionally because people talked about some things that were really, really personal to them, but it was also so powerful. But I think the real value came from having the time to reflect on your own past, on your own journey, and how you got to where you are. So get a piece of paper out, get some pens out, and draw, what you can see in this image here, this little person. Oh, we've gone the wrong way. Where you've got that line there, what does your journey look like? What happened? What shaped you? What's important to you? And there's key things that you will realize that have happened to you that are probably driving your values and your beliefs now. And that's okay, but it's about being aware of them and how they've shaped you. So I would massively encourage you to do that. And as simply as ask teams this question. You can do that remotely, exactly like we have just now, and it just helps you get to know them a little bit better, to understand them as individuals. Okay, the second point around self-awareness. Some of you might have seen this before and some of you may not have. This is the behavioral iceberg. What we see is just the tip of the iceberg, which is the behaviors. We see the behaviors of people every single day. What we don't see is the things that drive those behaviors. We cannot see their purpose. We cannot see what their identity means to them. We cannot see their beliefs, their values, and we can't always see capability either. But all of those things drive the behaviors that you do see. So what this is about is how can you be curious and create a curious mindset as an individual to help uncover some of those things that are driving an individual's behavior. We all would have been in a situation where we don't agree with someone's behavior. We don't maybe agree with how someone's reacted to something. We don't agree with the way someone's responded to a situation. However, what you need to be able to do to be people-centric is think about what have they gone through, what beliefs might they have, what values might they have that might be driving the way they have responded or driven that behavior that I have seen. And a really great way to kind of build this mindset into you so it becomes almost second nature and you don't have to really think about it, is to put yourself in that situation as much as you can. So every time you see that, think what's driven that behavior, what's important to them, what capability might be sitting behind why they've done what they've done. So we're going to do that really quickly now. We're not going to break out into a group, but I want you to sit to think about and write down somebody that maybe something's happened with recently. Maybe you've disagreed with a behavior or disagreed with something they've done. And then I want you to write down 2 values or beliefs or things that could have driven their behavior. So if you've got that pen and paper to hand, make sure you do write that down. If you need any prompting, a big topic recently that's caused a lot of debate that people don't always agree with is COVID. So vaccinations, lockdowns, the way things have been dealt with, huge topic. So think about maybe a situation where you've had a conversation with someone where you disagreed with their behavior or the way they responded to something and what could have driven that. So we're going to give 2 minutes now. I won't put a timer on, I'll just let you know roughly how long we've got left. Write down those values or beliefs, and if you want to, please share in the chat as well. Got around 30 seconds left. Okay, so if anyone wants to share, they can do in the chat, but I'm going to go move us on to the next section, but I just want to share a couple of things around this one. I've recently read a book called Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. I highly recommend it. It's very, very interesting. And he talks about something called coupling, and it's a theory called coupling, and how behavior is driven not just by a situation or a person, but by the context and also a place. So place links links very highly with someone's behavior. And this is quite a difficult topic to talk about in this way, but it kind of brings it home and what we mean by coupling. So I'm sure we're all aware of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's known for lots of people committing suicide there. Since it's been built, 1,500 people or so have committed suicide. And it took until 2018 to have a suicide barrier put up. It was almost 80 years after it was originally built, because people believe that actually, you know, individuals, if they're at that point in their life and they want to end their life, they'll find a way to do it regardless of the location. Back in around 37, a study was done. 515 people were stopped by restraint, by people walking by, passers-by on the Golden Gate Bridge. So they were stopped from killing themselves. Of those 515 people, only 25 went on to kill themselves. And of the others, when they spoke to them, they said it wasn't about just ending their life. It was also the idea of doing it at that location. So that doesn't mean to say that that is the truth. And it doesn't mean to say that we can know that 100% for sure. But it does make you think about, does someone's behavior, how closely linked is someone's behavior to the place that they currently are? The same thing applies to things like crime. Almost 50% of crime happens in less than 4% of streets in a city. So 50% of crime on 4% of streets. And that's not in just one location. That's not just one country. That's globally around the world. So there's something in it that makes us think about, actually, when we're talking to individuals, when we see someone's behavior or we think about the way someone's spoken, how has the place that they are in or the context played a role in their response? So it just gets you thinking a little bit differently, not just about what they said or them as an individual, but where are they in that moment that could have impacted the way they've responded. Okay, lastly, and we've done a little bit of this already, so we're not going to spend too much time talking through it, but this is about vulnerability. The best leaders around the world show vulnerability, and that might be accepting when we've done something wrong. It might be speaking up about a difficult situation, but being vulnerable in front of team helps them show vulnerability as well, and it helps build psychological safety. So this is about showing that you are human. And it's difficult to do, and it doesn't mean that we have to talk about the deepest or most difficult things ever, but it does mean that we need to show that we're human. Everybody has their own challenges. Everybody has things that they go through which are difficult. Everybody has things that they're stronger about or not necessarily stronger. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say, actually, this is not what I'm best at, but that's what we mean by showing vulnerability. So what I want you to do now, and we won't do a group because there's a small enough group here, but write down or think about one way that you have shown vulnerability recently or could do. And then we can share back. So we can share in the chat or we can talk about it. But what did that mean for you? How could you show vulnerability to help others?
I'll just add one thing. So I tend to try and tell my teams what I'm really good at and what I'm really bad at. And I start with what I'm really bad at. And I try and tell them, like, I'm very bad at last minute things. I'm a planner, so I like to plan ahead. So if you're asking me to meet today to talk about something that's due at 4 o'clock today, that's probably not going to work out for me. I'm not going to be super helpful. Or I tell them, I mean, that's one example, but basically admit where I have weaknesses, right? And that also allows you to have the conversation about your strengths too, with everyone. And that way you can build a better team that way too.
Definitely. Amazing. Thank you. Has anybody else got any thoughts around that one? Okay, that's fine. As long as you've thought about it and you can think about those things, that's brilliant. So those are 3 things that we can do to help self-awareness. So we'll recap those at the end, and we can have some time for questions as well. But I want to go on to things now that can help us practically day to day understanding others. When we went to this virtual COVID remote world, people lost the ability to do things like connect easily. So we need to recreate that for them. And that's how we start being more people-centric again. How do we recreate that level of connectivity that we lost? You no longer get those lunchtime chats or coffee, the coffee machine chats where you've just gone to make a coffee in the kitchen and somebody's in there that you haven't spoke to for a while. We've lost the ability for that. So you need to almost try and recreate it somehow. Now, some of the things that I've done recently that have massively helped, and these are all things that I've done, and they're just ideas that you can kind of build upon, you can take, you can try them yourselves. Every Friday, we have a virtual lunch. So we all jump on a call, exactly like you're doing right now. Sometimes we all order a takeout and we get it delivered. Sometimes we make our own lunch, but we have this time in our diary every single Friday, and we sit and have lunch together. And there's no work talk whatsoever. And we have a bit, everyone's like, oh, what have you got for lunch today? What have you got? And, we joke about the fact that, oh, my delivery order's still not turned up and it's late, even though I ordered it yesterday, things like that. And it just recreates that scenario of sitting in the office together, having lunch. It's really simple. But it does require everyone to be kind of invested. Sometimes people won't turn up, and that's okay. And sometimes the same people turn up, but it's giving people the option, the space to sit there and connect, just like they used to over lunch. The second thing is a digital or virtual workspace. So the other thing that I like to do is every week I open up a virtual workspace. It's in the calendar, it's in an invite, and it'll be like a morning for 2.5, 3 hours. And the team can jump into a call just like this. There's no agenda, there's no topic, we don't have anything to cover, but we sit there and do our work. And we encourage people to say, I've just got a thought in mind. Can someone answer my question? And you literally recreate the atmosphere of sitting around a desk where you can just jump on some thoughts, or two people might say, actually, I can help with that. Let's jump on a call separately quickly, and then we'll come back. Or they'll go into a breakout room and then come back. So it's a virtual workspace. It's in the diary every single week. It's there for a few hours. People jump on, you have a little bit of chit chat at the beginning, see how people are, and then you do your own work. But it allows you to collaborate where you need to, and it allows you to talk where you need to. If I need to go and make myself a coffee, I just do that like I would in the workplace. But it has helped quite a lot bring people back together. And the third one is a little bit different. But I set some team challenges once for a group of people. It was actually a group of Scrum Masters. It was like an Agile COE. And we found quite early on in the first lockdown that Scrum Masters, it really took its toll on them, because they were trying to be the energy for the room. They were trying to keep all their teams motivated, and they were low and flagging themselves. So I created a bunch of challenges, and this started off as I said it every Monday, and they had till Friday to do it. And there was something that they had, some way of proving what it is they'd done. And the first challenge was, how many steps can you do in any given day before 5 p.m? People were very creative. People stood up all day. They made themselves a standing desk, and they just walked on the, like, literally on calls all day. Somebody done a half marathon, like 13 miles by like 5 p.m. whilst working. It wasn't about the challenge. It was about getting them to think about their workspace. How do they keep moving? How do they be active? The next week, we done something called, we did something around sign language. So we had like a national deaf awareness week, or hearing impairment awareness week. So I gave them a challenge to learn some sign language, video themselves and send it back. Again, like, they had till the end of the week. They got their teams involved. It was by this point, we've had a leaderboard, there was a competition going. And then I started to have to really think differently, because I was like, I need to make sure these challenges incorporate everybody. So then I said, right, go to your recycling box, all the stuff that you've thrown around, you've recycled, pull it out and make yourself something that you can put in your garden that will feed the birds. Make your own bird feeder out of recycling. Get your kids involved, get your families involved. They did it over weekends, they did it in the evenings. I had videos of like all the children getting involved, making these bird feeders. And it just, again, it was something that brought a little bit of fun. It brought a little bit of creativity, but everyone could get involved in it, and it made things fun for them. And it was so simple, but so effective. And I ran this for 2 months. There was a different challenge every single week. It was hard thinking of challenges. It kept me on my toes, but it completely changed the way this group worked, because it was something so simple, but they then started doing the same thing with their teams. It kind of went a bit viral around the company. So I would massively encourage thinking about things like that. Really, really simple. Just getting people active, getting people to do things differently, getting people to be creative. So yeah, that is creating time to connect. How do you create that that's been lost? Those are some ideas. There's loads of things you can do, but give yourself the time and the space to test and learn and be creative with it. Okay, the second part around understanding others, remote world expectations. Emphasize. Now, I did this when I joined. I said, I've got a second screen. Quite often I look away. I said that there's a cat that might come in. I also, when I join calls, every single time I let people know I might be writing notes, so you might not see me looking. I'm down here writing. The reason I do that, even if it's people that I've been on a call with before and they know me, is because the more I talk about it, the more people see that it's okay to be like that. It's okay to seem like you're distracted when you're not. It's okay to call out that actually the doorbell might ring because, you know what, I've ordered something else from Amazon. We're working from home in a very different situation, and you need to create a sense of safety, that it's okay to be distracted, it's okay to have these things going on. So by you calling out at the beginning of every single meeting that you do, it makes other people feel okay to do the same. So overemphasize all of those things which to you probably seem really small. Like, we've been doing this for 2 years now. Do I still need to tell people that I've got a second screen? Surely they should know. Absolutely, they probably do. They're probably bored of me saying it. But to one person that doesn't realize it, it makes a massive difference. So you need to keep overemphasizing those things. Team norms, team agreements, we've probably all done them. How do we want to work together? How do we want to help each other? And 9 times out of 10, they're brilliant. But there's one thing that I always, or generally always see is missed. What do we do when we don't stick to it? We very, very rarely have that conversation up front. So we talk about all these great things we want to do. Reality is, at some point, we won't stick to that agreement. So how do we want to deal with it? Do you want me to pull you aside separately and say, look, this is what we agreed to? Do you want someone in the moment to say to you, actually, that's not what we agreed to? Do we want to sit there and say, actually, we should review this? How do we want to tackle it as a team when we're not sticking to this agreement? That's the bit that's missing. And it's missing from the majority of teams that set up these agreements. So it's the most important part of an agreement. How do we tackle it when things go wrong? And it's got to be quite an honest and frank conversation, but that agreement needs to happen, because I can tell you now, at some point in your working relationship with those people, they will not stick to that agreement. And that's normal. But it's about how we tackle it in a way that we want to tackle it. Okay. And last, focus on the detail. So 3 things here that I want to call out. When we're working remotely, you have to be even more cautious and conscious of some of the details. So questions. Something that I like to do a lot of, there's 3 questions. And I think every great coach and Scrum Master should have these questions in the back pocket. I always say to people, tell me more. Even if you think they've got no more to say, tell me more. They will always find something else to say. They will always expand on what they're saying. So that is one of my questions that I always go to. The second question, I think my cat has just appeared. There she is. You might see, she looks like a lemur. She's not, I promise, she is a cat. Secondly, the second question I like to ask is, does anyone want to build upon that? And what that creates is collaboration. So people build on each other's ideas, people build on what they've said. The third question, which is really powerful, and it helps uncover different views without creating conflict, is, does anybody feel differently to that? Now, the reason I say it that way is because you're not saying that they disagree. You're not saying that they think the other person is wrong. You're just saying, does anybody feel differently? It's a really great way to help people feel okay to speak up in a group when maybe they've got different views, and it helps you get alignment. So it's quite a neutral way of getting that out. So it stops the conflict happening maybe down the line. The second point is energy. Energy levels drop on Zoom and on virtual working a lot more quickly than they do in person. You have to be very aware of it when you're facilitating. You have to be aware of what's going on, when the energy drops, when to change things. I quite often don't have half an hour or 1 hour meetings. They are 25 minutes and 55 minutes. So it gives people that 5 minutes time to get up, move around. And I always put in time for energizers. Even if I think those people don't want it, even if I think there's already a lot of energy, we'll just do something a little bit different. We'll do something a bit creative. I'll get them to draw something that basically helps their mind reset and focus on the topic that we need to get into. And lastly, a shift in language. This is a very, very small detail, but can have a massive, massive impact. So things like, you might often hear people say, we've got an issue, we've got a problem. Encourage them to change that to challenge. As soon as you say we've got a challenge, or we've got, instead of problem or issue and problem are very negative words, and it puts a negative spin in their mind. If you say to them, we've got a challenge is more associated with overcoming it. So therefore, in their minds, it could be overcome. And it's very small, but shifting to positive language and you doing that and you consciously saying to them, right, let's shift that. Let's think about it as a challenge rather than this. They'll slowly get the idea of what it is you're trying to do. And gradually over time, it will help the shift in mindset to be more positive and more focused and generally more engaged. There she goes. So those are kind of three things there. The three questions that I always ask, the shift in energy in a room, and always making sure you've got time to put in, buffer time to help lift energy in a room, and the small shift in language. These are three things around detail. And the other thing actually that I want to draw upon is I've asked you in some of the exercises up front to write things down. If you were in a room, we would have been writing on Post-it notes and sticking it on a board somewhere or a wall. When we write things down, we use the opposite side to our brain that we do when we type. And that means that you are a lot more likely to remember it. So I don't know if you've ever heard the raw power of the pen. If I'm in a room and I'm facilitating and someone comes up with an action, I will literally get a pen and I'll say, great, do you want to write that on a Post-it note? And I will hand them the pen, because all of a sudden they own it. You can do the same thing remotely. If you're in a retro or something and someone comes up with a really great action, you can say, great, thanks so much for that. Do you want to pop it on a Post-it note and write it down? Because they then own it. So one, if you're doing exercise, you can get them to physically write it down, because that massively helps. But you can recreate power of a pen remotely on electronic whiteboards as well. Those things make people feel included. It makes them feel kind of more part of a team, but it's also a lot more powerful when it comes to remembering and actually acting upon those things. So coming to the end, being people-centric in both remote and the virtual and the, I was going to say real life world, but virtual is real life. In both worlds, being people-centric is about understanding yourself and then understanding others. Those two things are the simplest form. Those things that I've gone over today, the energizers, the activities, the tips, they will not work for every team. And that's okay. Every team is different. Every team wants something different. But it's about trial and error. And the last thing is, I'd love to tell you that psychological safety can be created overnight with a magic wand. It really can't. You might go away and do one activity that we've talked about today with your team. It will not change everything. It won't change even probably a lot. It's about the small things. And that's why it's not just about those activities and asking the right questions. It's about putting in that time to connect. It's about emphasizing the things you need to. It's about the small details of shifting language and recognizing when the room's lost energy and asking the right questions. All of those things combined help build psychological safety. It's not do you have it or do you not? It's a scale. So there's different types of psychological safety, and it takes a while to build. I massively recommend reading some books on psychological safety. Amy Edmondson she coined the term psychological safety and has written some incredible books about teams performance around psychological safety. And there's also another book called The 4 Stages of Psychological Safety, again, both on Audible, both available to buy. Really, really good books about how to create it, what you can do, and the impact of it. So would massively recommend those as well. But it won't change overnight. So if you go away and do one of these things with your team, you think nothing's changed, I'm not surprised, it won't. But that doesn't mean to say it hasn't had an impact. It just takes a while to build. So those are a few things. Now, before we go on to some questions, I'm going to leave this page up. Top left-hand corner is actually a blog I wrote about the culture experience I had back in 2014. So you can read kind of a bit more of the story there. That is the website Agile Avengers that we've created. There's a whole load of resources on there, blogs, energizers, team building activities. We've got videos on there, all sorts of things. And we're constantly creating new content. It is completely free because we do believe that everyone should have access to this kind of content. It's not groundbreaking, it's not massively new, but we want to make it readily available and in a way that people can easily understand and read. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. On that QR code, you can scan it, and me personally as well, you've got that QR code. And lastly, our YouTube channel. So we put lots of videos up. We're creating a lot more video content most recently. There's discussions around all sorts of topics, difference between Scrum Masters and coaches, what it means to be kind of a Scrum Master in a virtual world, the power of data, tools, all of those sorts of things we talk about. And we're always looking for new ideas. So any feedback on things you'd like to see us talk about, do let us know. But you can connect with me there. And that is everything from me. So we've got some time to ask questions, share some thoughts, or anything else.
Amy, thank you so much. This was a crash course on some interesting activities that we can attempt to try with our teams, and also so much for us to learn. And it's going to be a long journey for sure, as you mentioned, but I think this is a great start. And I'm sure all the resources that you have on your website is going to help us get there too, with tons of other activities that's been captured there. So I think that's a great resource. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I would encourage you all to go out and check it out. The first thing I saw on Agile Avengers was drawing your retrospective. I was particularly looking for things that would appeal to designers, because I just took on a design group as opposed to an engineering group. And even though really that method or the technique would be universal, I really like the idea that we're not just doing fun stuff to do fun stuff. Right? Sometimes you get into that habit of like, oh, we have to do a retrospective game. And it's like, but where's this? Is it furthering our knowledge of each other? Is it building objectives? So thank you for that, for drawing that connection. That's really what I was wanting to see, is how we get a little bit under the surface, under the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's okay. There's a lot of people perceive energizers and agile games as just that, as a game and a bit of fun. Underneath every single energizer, every single activity, every single team building, there is lessons. You just need to know how to find them. So don't be afraid to kind of look for them and dig a little bit deeper and think about the understandings. There's a whole bunch of these things that I could talk through, but conscious of time. So if anyone has specifics that they want to talk about, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can have a chat as well.
Love it. And Amy, if you do have any questions or certain topics that we'd love your team to cover, do we just share that in your LinkedIn?
Yeah, that would be best. Directly with me would be fab. Just say that obviously, you saw the talk on Agile Denver, you'd love to connect, or here's a topic that we're really interested in. Let us know. There's no reason that we can't put something out on Agile Avengers and potentially come back and do something again for the group. And I can bring any of the other Avengers with me as well. I say Avengers. I shouldn't say Avengers, because I feel like I might get in trouble with Disney for that, but Pixar. The Agile Avengers. Absolutely. We're doing this because we want to help our audience and we want to help people. So we're very conscious that we want feedback as to what works and what's not. We've put a course on Udemy. Really, it's a two-hour introduction to Agile. So if you've got new people that you work with that want to know about Agile, let them know. Reach out to me, because I'd be more than happy to give you a link that means they can do it for free. What we're trying to do right now is get feedback, understand how it lands, what's working for people. And then we want to create a whole bunch of training material at a reasonable cost. There's a lot of organizations out there that charities and not-for-profits that can't afford to pay hundreds of thousands of pounds for these large consultancies to come in and teach them Agile. And we want to kind of give those people the ability to do something with their teams and help them. So that's what it's about. We've got the Udemy courses as well. Any of that, just please do feel free to reach out.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
That.
Anybody has any questions or looking to contribute to that? Great. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. I know that there's probably 1,000 other things and many different meals that you could be having right now instead of being here with us, but we definitely appreciate it. And I'm sure that you will take away some great information. Also, I'm calling on you as members of Agile Denver. Let's show Amy what great partners we can be, how we can mutually support each other. And we will see you at the next one.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
Amy, it was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Good day.
Take care, everyone. Bye. Have a good day.
Cool. That was so
Awesome.
good.
Just wanted to say thank you both.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm sure you probably have to go get your meerkat to sleep, or what, a lemur.
A lemur.
Every
Meerkat.
time.
Ooh, we'd
She
love
does look
that.
like it's a very strange color. She's completely white, but her tail's like a lemur, meerkat. I'm like, I don't understand.
Stripey. Yeah. Okay.
Very
Well,
strange.
hey, that was
Anyway.
so fantastic. I appreciate you taking time out of your
That's
evening.
okay.
And I really am absolutely sincere when I say that, you know, Agile Denver is looking to create these relationships with people all over the world. We have strong relationships already with the people in Australia, like M. Campbell Pretty, you know, that have, this Denver network is weird. We have all the people that started it all. You know, Mike Cohn is here, and Ken Rubin, and Dean Leffingwell. So it's a very strongly, I think, educated and informed. But we definitely need to reach out and start changing our perspectives and figuring out what's new and shedding some of that old, you know, maybe not working as well techniques. And, you know, and so thank you so much for bringing that to us.
Okay. No problem at all. Yeah, honestly, let's keep connecting. Let's keep, you know, close. We're doing the same thing right now with, you know, Agile Avengers. We're thinking about how do we shift, how do we create something that's relevant, how do we build our network. So you know, what we can maybe do is just, we've got a couple of lines that I can send you and say, this is about who we are, this is what we do. So feel free to share that.
Yes.
And I can share a couple of those links with you about, you know, to find the Udemy course, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'll drop you an email with that, and then we can connect again in you know, whenever feels right.
That would be great. We also have a pretty big audience. I know a lot of folks didn't show up today, but we've got these 5 other groups that could come together and either show a video or a little workshop or something like that to promote what you're doing.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll do maybe I'll see if I can get us a little video or something just about who we are or something. We've got a designer that still works for us, so we might be able to create a little something. So leave it with me. I'll drop you like an email anyway, covering some things.
All right.
I'll see if I can then get a video or something done just to share with you all.
Okay. Thanks for the debrief.
Amazing.
Have a good night.
Awesome.
See you later.
Thank you so much, Amy. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you, Shruti.
Bye. See you, Laurie. I'll call you maybe over the weekend or something. We'll figure something out.
Sounds good.
Yeah.